DraftSociety.com presents a Premier League Draft Fantasy Podcast. Welcome to the Key Pass Collective. Your exclusive source for the information, analysis, and advice you need to dominate your fantasy leagues. Come on in. We've been expecting you.
What is happening, draft heads? How's everyone doing? Welcome into the KPC. My name is Joe Williams. I'll be your host for this particular episode. If you haven't noticed, I say that every time. But there are times that I'm not here, so I guess there are particular episodes where I don't say that. But anyway, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Super excited to be back and talking some draft fantasy football here today. We, of course, at the KPC, if you are not familiar with us, we are the audio companion to the Draft Society website. What is the Draft Society? Well, sure. Let me do my little spiel. Let's go through it. The Draft Society is your one-stop shop, basically, for everything draft-related, everything Premier League fantasy football draft. This is exactly where you want to be. You want to hook it up and check things out there. So the Draft Society, we've got all kinds of stuff free every single week. Top 75 consensus rankings, waiver wire articles, Sleepers 11 every single week, Ryan's Ghost Point Hunters article, draft statistics that are super in-depth. We'll be looking at some of those today, actually. And then projected lineups every single week as well. All of that free completely. And if you're willing, we also do have a subscriber-only section. And if you're willing to subscribe to that and help us out, help us keep the lights on, kind of help an independent fantasy football website continue to operate, well, then we've got some more amazing perks for you as well. So rest of season player rankings, points projections for every single player every week. We've got consensus rankings on international breaks, which are coming right up. So we'll have another set out for you during this upcoming international break. All of our rest of season rankings, you can sort them by different analysts. You can sort them by position. You can sort them by all kinds of different things. Trade advice, that's one of the things we don't talk about too much, but yeah, confidential trade advice that goes straight to our email. None of your league mates will see it. Set piece taker tracker, fixture difficult, it's all there. So all of that stuff, plus more. And then if you are willing to subscribe to the season pass, of course, you'll get the fantasy toolkit. The fantasy toolkit is what we believe to be a pretty incredible value. It's if you subscribe for the season, you'll get the fantasy toolkit and basically have access to a bespoke tool that literally, using your Fantrax ID will give you advice on who to pick up every week. It will give you advice on potentially who you might trade for. If you have a certain player and you're wondering their trade value, who might you trade for that player? It's got a fixture difficulty tracker built right into it. It'll tell you game week transaction data. Who are people in the community leagues, the big three community leagues that are very involved, a lot of veterans in there. Who are they picking up this week? It's got all of that plus more. It's incredible. Pretty proud of it from DraftLad, a tool that pretty much has revolutionized the way that I prepare for game weeks, and it saves me so much time. So check it out. Help us out if you can. And to all of our current subscribers, thank you all so much. We just appreciate you guys so much. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to do today on the pod. So first of all, of course, if you haven't heard, there's been a little bit of news. Erik ten Hag has been sacked, and so we will be talking about that and the fantasy fallout of that. Then we've got a little section, a little segment we like to call Guys We Never Talk About. We will be talking about some of those guys that we never talk about. So how's the season going for them? Whether or not we want to hold, what's the rest of the season prospects look like for that? We will be talking through some guys we never talk about. And then, of course, we got your Game Week 10 streamers. So we will, we'll get to all those things, hopefully, if we have time and won't keep you up all that late. Speaking of keep you up late, we do have a friend who's joining us from overseas. So it's a little bit later there than it is here. But some of you have heard about him. Some of you have read his stuff on the Draft Society, actually. And most of you have probably been in a league with him if you've been in one of the community leagues. So, without further ado, let me bring on Tom. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Jay. It's good to be on it eventually. Finally, even.
We've talked about it for a long time. Tell the listeners just your quick kind of amended history, or not amended, abbreviated history with the draft game.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Tom, 521 on Twitter. Not that anyone ever uses that anymore. Started playing drafting the season that we came to United, so 1920, I believe. Just in the home league for the first couple years, and then joined the IGL and the community league a couple years ago, and now I help to run them.
Yeah, I love it. And how did you get into draft? How did you get into draft? Like, what was the thing that, like, did you have a home league that you started with, or?
Yes, so it's something that we've wanted to do for a while. So when we were at uni, so 2017ish, we watched the TV program The League religiously.
So many people say that. It's crazy. Yeah. So many people say The League. It's funny.
We then at the end of that season we looked into doing it. I believe that was the year that Togga died, and so we were going to use that, and then that was no longer an option. Didn't know what we were doing. Ended up trying to use FPL draft in its infancy, which was, well, we didn't do that in the end.
Terrible idea. Yeah. Yep.
And then a couple years later, found Fantrax and made it. The thing with our host, so we had a home league which is still going on. In the early days of that league was truly, all of the scoring rules. So obviously the big thing with Fantrax is the fact that you have so much customization with your league.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that when you decide to set up a league after being at the pub for 6 hours, you then wake up in the next morning staring at these like scoring rules that you've made, thinking none of this makes any sense. So the big thing was we'd set it up so that you got 1 point if a player made 8 long balls in a game. And
8 long
any
balls
less
equals
than 8
point.
is 0. But if you got 8, then that's your point done. And so we played with that scoring system for 3 years, and it made 0 sense, but we loved it anyway. And then found Fantrax default scoring, and everything made so much more sense.
That's hilarious. Oh man, beautiful. Ryan, welcome in, man.
How we doing? Fireworm.
We were just catching up with Tom, talking about his introduction to the draft game.
Very nice. I'm sorry I missed that. glad you could join us, Tom.
No.
The abridged version is basically the league. So many people say watching the league got them interested in starting a fantasy league.
Wow. It astounds me that it was that popular overseas. It was such like an American thing.
It's not mainstream over here at all.
Yeah.
It's sort of very much word of mouth, sort of friend of a friend liked it.
Yeah, that checks out.
It sort of spreads out through that. And it's such a like alien concept, the draft format. It's getting more traction in like football now, but back in like the 2010s, no one played that over here. It was all FPL, and like the idea of the draft league, it was something that's that's what those Americans do with like the NFL and that, and it's and then once you actually get into it, it's obviously the best way to play the game.
Yeah, that's what we're combating with trying to grow this.
Totally. Yeah, very niche, but kind of what you're hinting at, right? Is that like you can't beat the camaraderie, and that's what the show plays up, really, right? Is the friendships and the camaraderie that you build.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Love it. All right, guys. Well, Sanjy's going to join us when he's able to. I think he's going to be a little bit late, which is totally cool. He will, I'm sure, enter seamlessly. But let's talk first, just quickly, maybe not quickly, we'll see, about Manchester United. Ryan, your favorite topic. So, not that you're going to be able to roster any of these players anytime soon, but let's talk through some of the fantasy impact of the ETH sacking and the fact that it looks pretty much done that Ruben Amorim is going to be named the next coach, and kind of what that means. So, just generally, I've got some, I don't know, if you want to say just like background information on Amorim here on the screen. So looking at a 3-4-3, which actually ends up being much more like a 5-2-2-1, strangely enough. You have a lot of pressing on defense, which you know what teams don't do that these days. And then emphasis on possession and attack. You've got 2 CDMs on top of the 5 defenders. You have a lone striker up front. And I read somewhere today. Oh, it was in the Discord. I read that there is something. What was the stat, Ryan? Maybe you saw it. Something about how they had the most take-ons in the entire Premier division in Portugal, something like that.
I didn't see it.
So people saying that the wingers / Rashford may feast when it comes to take-ons. I don't know if I believe it or not, but yeah. What do you guys think about just generally Amorim, and then maybe style of play or anything you've heard about that, and then what can we extrapolate in terms of fantasy value?
I took a crack, but I mean, in general, obviously there's nowhere to go but up. Any semblance of a managerial change was going to lift all boats. So I think, yeah, in general, other than maybe some Ten Hag favorites like Anthony are gonna get boosted by this. It's just going to come down to like every time with a new manager, how quickly they bed in. Is there a new manager bump? Can they sustain it? But no, I think it's a good sign for them, unfortunately. But yeah, you got to think, at least based on this initial analysis, that Mazraoui, the wing backs are going to be, even more important. Dalot, probably, given the fact he's Portuguese and he's a wing back and scores well at fantasy. It's kind of the holy trinity. He should probably be the biggest beneficiary, but yeah, we'll see.
I think a big question is whether Man United have the personnel to play this system off the bat.
Yeah.
There's a difference between maybe this time next year they'll be playing this 3-4-3 and flying, but looking at the Sporting team at the moment, they very much favour pacey centre backs to keep with that high press.
Oh,
and United just don't have that. Right? You're not going to see. You're not seeing Harry Maguire.
How dare you say that about De Ligt?
The butcher can chop you down, but he's not the biggest runner.
De Ligt is no Van de Ven. I didn't think I would ever say that.
I mean, he is in a sense, but
yeah. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I don't have anything further to say. It's looking at the United team, even the United studs, such as they are. How do they actually fit into this system? I guess it'll be a later point. But where does Bruno play, for instance? Bruno never played at Sporting with Amorim there. It was a couple months after he left that he came in from Braga. So where does he play in a 3-4-3? Do you send him out onto the wing, or do you put him in as a CDM?
Yeah. I see this being a situation a lot like we're currently dealing with Brighton, which is when you actually look at how the team lines up on the field, the number of attackers is actually pretty limited. You have aside from the center defensive mids, you're going to have 3 guys. And so literally there's not enough spots for all of the attackers. There's not enough spots for all of the even the current United players who actually get minutes. I just think it's going to be an absolute mess, and or the other option is that you're going to have 3 attackers that, basically vacuum up all of the starts. And, guys like your Diallo's, guys like, obviously Anthony's done. But, there's going to be players, Xerxes, who are just completely left out in the cold, and we can just forget about them now.
I would guess who has the most assists for Sporting Lisbon this year? Any guesses?
I'm guessing it's not Gyökeres or Gonçalves.
No.
If you're asking the question.
It's got to be a former Arsenal player, otherwise you wouldn't ask this.
No, I mean, not too far from the tree, but it's not old Trincao.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hell yes. Oh, glad to see him succeeding somewhere. We always knew he had it in him. I
totally forgot he was there.
I
was trying to kind of suss out who would be who was the main kind of creative attacking outlet to see where Bruno could fit in. But Trincao is a straight up winger, so.
Well, I mean, let's state the obvious here at least, right? Because Bruno benefits from this immensely. This style of play is not the fast break style that basically ruined his fantasy numbers. So I think if you have any opportunity to trade him in, I would do it. I mean, I would overpay at this point because I think he's set to rebound in a big way. Personally.
Yeah, they'll have to shoehorn him in somewhere, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he can play like that kind of left attacking mid role. Yeah, it's going to be a strange setup. I mean, to have Højlund out there as a lone striker, I mean, there's games where he's going to be on an island, just chilling. He's going to have 3 touches, kind of like a Haaland kind of thing.
I think the other thing is if you put Bruno out on the left wing, then that's 2 spots to fill. And there's about 8 blokes who want those 2 spots, really, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't really, although I agree that Bruno, he can't be any worse than he's been so far.
Right.
I think there is still a high risk bringing him in at the moment, just because we don't know how this system will work with him. If he's playing it in the left wing, then what does that mean for everyone else? Or does Amorim try and keep it as close to his style as possible? Which,
you're
not going to put Bruno in a CDM, though, are you? Let's be real.
No, of course not. And under Amorim, it's not really a wing, though, is it? Because the wing is occupied by the wing back, which they're very involved. So, I mean, those are the top winners. Obviously, I think that those are the top winners, followed by maybe Bruno, followed by potentially Rashford. I mean, maybe resurrecting his whatever the hell you want to call the last 2 seasons from him.
Can't really call it a slump anymore, can you?
I mean, yeah, exactly.
I mean, as a Sunderland fan, the person who I want to see gain the most is Ahmad. I mean, he can't be treated any worse under Amorim than he was under Ten Hag, can he?
Yeah.
To be honest, and based on his time at Sunderland, I imagine that he'd play quite well in that system. He's very good at keeping the ball and sort of getting out of danger and sort of recycling the effort as you want to build possession in attack. But again, that means someone else isn't playing who would have been playing in the old system.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Man, I have no idea. I'm tempted to say, man, I mean, so, okay, you've got those 3, well, you've got the striker role, which only leaves the 2 midfield spots. I mean, so even, you can't even put Garnacho, Rashford, and Bruno in there all together.
Unless we go back in time and stick Rashford up front.
True.
But that's just not happening.
It doesn't seem that way. In which case, yeah, do you really bench Højlund and Xerxes? You just spent so much money on both of them, and I can't see it. But yeah, Oh man. And so Tobias is asking, does Shaw make it back into the team?
If he was ever fit, he's not. He won't be.
Yeah.
So it's not worth even hypothesizing about it.
I'm not a fan.
I guess there's also Shaw doesn't really play as a wing back apart from a couple games for England. It's not a role that he's performed very much, is it? It's that amount of running. It's not really what Shaw's well known for, is it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
At least they'll. I assume they'll back him in January. So he might get some new signings in January, although obviously not as many as next summer. But yeah, it could be some decent January pickups.
Do they pull the Ten Hag and just bring the entire sporting team over to Manchester? Is that
Trincao maybe, man?
Hey, we'll take Gyökeres. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, I want him at Arsenal for sure.
Yeah, he's gonna go for big money when he leaves.
Wolves were very, very close to getting him from Coventry. From what I've read, the Chinese owners needed to stump up just a few more million, and it was 30 or something total.
Come on.
Yeah, and then he went to Sporting, and now it's probably at least 80.
That's a payday. That's a payday they missed out on. That's terrible.
Yeah, he would have been perfect for them too. Such is life.
Nucleus wondering thoughts on Casemiro. He seems to be back in form.
Yeah, who were going to be the two CDMs? You got to think, obviously Mainu when fit, and then it's either Ugarte or Casemiro.
Or the way Casemiro's playing, can you really drop him? I mean, I see Casemiro as right it to the wheels fall off type of situation. I mean, if you have him in your league, great. If you don't, pick him up. I mean, he's been fantastic. He was incredible today. Goal and an assist, I think. And yeah, there's no reason not to pick him up. Sure. There's literally nothing to lose. And yeah, I mean, you got him for free. You got him for free. And so when you see him missing out on the starting lineup several weeks in a row, that's when you drop him. Easy.
I think that puts it about as well as it can be.
All right. Anything else on United? Do you think there's going to be a change in? Some people are talking about a change in the sort of three. If you want to call them, I guess, three center backs. Which it kind of will be three center backs. So, Euro, when he comes back in, do you have any interest in him? It's still going to be a month or so, but
I think it's kind of early days to start thinking about potentially more clean sheet heavy defenders for United, because we don't know how this system will work in the Prem. We don't know whether, I mean, it's not very long ago that United was struggling to put two fit centre-backs on the field, and now they're adding a third one, and with a higher press. And
that's a great point.
You don't want to be seeing Johnny Evans, if he's even still there, trying out in the back three, really, do you? Trying to run back. So, although I think Euro is a very interesting asset when he does come back, I don't think it's a snap him up as soon as you see the flag stop being broken on fan tracks kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
As much as I despise Martinez, he did show some flexibility. I mean, Arteta wanted to bring him in as a left back, so I could see him fitting in pretty perfectly as the left-sided center back in a back three. So that's the one that I think. If I had to choose, I think it would be probably Martinez at the left, and then De Ligt, I guess, just for lack of a alternative in the center, and then a more mobile center half on the right, maybe like a Lindelof or Euro when he's fit. I don't know. I forget which foot Euro is. Is he left-footed or?
I have no idea.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing I think you can know for sure is probably Martinez as the left sided center half in the 3. But he doesn't score that well in fantasy. But this system might bring it out of him. I don't know. Yeah,
we'll see. I think Tom made a good point. I mean, a lot of those guys are going to be pretty clean sheet dependent, and there's when you have 3 center backs, there's not going to be enough aerials and interceptions and block shots to go around to sustain all of them. So, I'm not rushing to pick them up. Good call. Anything else on United? Now I'll say it again. We can actually move on. All right, feeling good. All right, let's do it. Okay, so these are players we never talk about. I kind of chose to center it around teams this time, but mostly like various positions at different teams. So like either defensive, midfield, or forward. And I just kind of was thinking a little introspection about like, man, we really haven't talked about, this position on this particular team hardly at all this year. So we're going to do that now. And if some of them are really short, great. If some of them are a little bit longer, sure. But yeah, I mean, for some of them, I imagine there's a reason we haven't talked about them much. But other ones, maybe we've had a little bit of an oversight. So question kind of becomes, why have they flown under the radar, and what are we kind of expecting for them the rest of the season? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel, or are we missing something? So let's start with, I'm going to take us full screen here. Let's start with Chelsea attackers who are not named Nico. I feel like we've talked about Nico a ton on this pod, and obviously Palmer as well. We can leave Palmer out of the conversation. But on your screen, you see Chelsea attackers, and what you'll notice is that you've got Cole Palmer sitting at 20.4 points per start. You have Noni Madueke sitting at 13.6, largely dining out on, you may remember, his hat trick, right, that he had early in the season. Then we jump all the way down to an 8.4 for Caicedo, Lavia 7.3, various other folks, Viega, Fernandez, Mudryk. Then we get to the forwards. Nico, of course, we mentioned 13.3 points per start. Sancho's been a little bit better, 10.6. Pedro Neto, 7.7. Christopher Nkunku, where do we even begin talking about him? So take it away, guys. What strikes your fancy? What do you want to talk about?
It's weird. I think Madueke is probably a good place to start because, I don't. Obviously, some of us were gambling on him, taking over that, I think, right wing role, and he's started more than I think all of us probably expected. 8 starts is as close to nailed on in this team as you can probably get. Yeah. Obviously, you want to see a lot more other than the Wolves performance, but
right.
Got to be pretty happy with your lot there in terms of taking Madueke. But he just doesn't get talked about that much. But I think he's a solid, mid-3, mid-4 with obviously the upside of playing with Palmer and getting better and being able to benefit from his goals and assists. So he's somebody that I'm thinking about and I think Neto, of all of the myriad of other wingers, has probably the best chance of being decent. We know what he can do fantasy wise. Obviously I don't think he's on any sets. But his last outing, I think he got 20 with a 21 with an assist. I think he'll get some more starts. But I think, the TLDR is that you can't really roster any of these guys unless you have some cover. So like Neto, Sancho, Cuff might not be the worst idea. But it's going to be frustrating as hell.
The hard part about that is, there's going to be weeks where you get 45.
Neither of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing is the halftime shifts, which is maddening.
Well, thinking of Noni Madueke, when I was doing my draft prep, I think on the Inside Tracks Chelsea preview, the person that they had on for Chelsea said if Noni Madueke was a nailed starter, then they thought they'd be going in the third or fourth round, which I guess is somewhat showing. I guess if you take off that massive points display at Wolves, then
that's the question.
Fantastic, but he's certainly looked like a serviceable, mid 3-4 during his time. I can't help but notice that João Felix isn't on this list.
I mean, there's only so much real estate you can fit into a slide, you know?
I love that. Yeah, no, you're right. That's very astute of you, my friend.
Renato Vega gets some love.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention quick before we move on, Noni Madueke. Ryan, you mentioned him as like a mid 3. He currently is the mid 6 overall.
Really?
Yep.
I mean, I need to do the math of like taking that hat trick and putting it into like 8 points just to see like
that's exactly
on average what it would be. But,
yep, that's exactly what I was referring to. That's the reason I bring it up, because when you consider him as a mid 3-4, what you're picking up on is the fact that he's scoring mostly like between 5 and 9 points a week. And I would say most weeks you are like, do you remember in 10 Things I Hate About You when the girl is like, I know you can be underwhelmed, I know you can be overwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? So most weeks with Madueke, you're just whelmed.
God, that's a great line. Kudos.
My favorite line from that movie is when, the short friend who's like kind of nerdy, but he's also the comic relief.
Yeah.
He's like, hey ladies, I'm getting a Tercel. Yeah, that's a Toyota.
I mean, mine's probably cliche, but here's Nigel with the brie. It's just it gets me every time.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry, Tom. Before your time.
Yeah.
Good job that our cameras aren't. I'm just sort of staring in panic, wondering what you're talking about. So, yeah.
He's like, "Oh shit, do I have to know a line from this movie? They didn't prep me for this." Oh man. All right. Anyway, does anyone want to take a stab at what the hell's going on with Nkunku?
Other than balloons, I don't know. I thought he had a chance of being I thought he had a chance of being like the Madueke, I guess.
Yeah.
7 to 8 starts, but he's just been a midweek warrior for a long time. I can't even remember that one start that he had.
No,
Was that
I can't
week
either.
1?
I have. Let me find it. I have no idea.
Yeah. The other thing to point out is that Enzo's fallen off a cliff. I think when fit, it seems like Caicedo and Lavia are the two pivots, and Caicedo's actually been pretty decent. He's had some games where he's ghosted double digits and has the odd assist. So like he's a mid 5 technically.
He's a not rosterable.
I think the thing with Nkunku is the idea of Nkunku is so much better than Nkunku in practice, isn't it? It's, you look at his numbers when he was at Leipzig and you think, and then you draft him last year and you keep him the entire time thinking, he'll come back, he'll get back from injury and it'll be lights out. And then last year happens and he's awful. I think he scored twice, both on sub appearances, but it's frustrating one because when he starts, there's a chance that he'll be like he could get 20 points sort of thing. But
yeah, and we have no idea because Ryan, you were mentioning his one start was against Chelsea, game week 1, 57 minutes, 6 points.
Sorry, who was it against?
Oh, you mean against City?
Sorry, against City. My bad. Against City. Yeah. Yeah, so we have no idea what he can do because he wasn't able to show it. And even in the match where he started, he didn't even make it to 60.
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, I don't want any part of this.
I know. I was just going to ask.
I didn't take any part in the draft, and I'm glad that I didn't. It's the halftime subs that would kill me too.
I have Madueke. I have tried to trade in Palmer numerous times, and the manager is like, no, I would need your whole team. And so after that, I guess I might send an offer for Nico, but that's about it. Do you have hope for any of these guys? Like, would you gamble on any of them?
The problem is, I don't think you could get any of them aside from, you wouldn't want to get the ones that you'd want to take a gamble on, like a Neto. Like I don't know what the market would be for him, but I guarantee it would be overpriced. In which case, yeah, it's not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze there.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you see any of them on free agency and you've got the roster spot, then take the punt. But like, you're not selling any actual assets to bring any of these guys in at the end of the day.
No,
it's just hobbling your team.
Yeah,
Kuka was finally dropped in my league over the last weekend, and nobody picked him up this week.
Okay, that was kind of the obvious next question. Yeah. And I wouldn't blame. I don't honestly. Wouldn't blame anybody for dropping him. Yep.
Yeah, totally. The guy that dropped him has Felix as well. Yeah, you're cuffing 2 players on the bench.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of don't want anything to do with this, the next thing we're going to talk about is Chelsea defenders. So let me just lay it out for people who can't see the screen or listening to the podcast. We're sorting by points per start, and leading the line here is Axel Disasi at 7.5, Colwell 6.1. It gets worse from there with Reece James and Malo Gusto, really the two only, like, what we thought would be viable fantasy options at the absolute bottom. The starts are all over the place. Obviously, injuries have played a role in this. They haven't had a particularly friendly start to the season. They've had a lot of pretty difficult matchups, but still, this is worse than I think we ever could have imagined. Especially with Maresca, right? Somebody who like emphasizes structure and emphasizes, like everybody has their role and discipline and that kind of thing.
Yeah, this has been. I streamed Fofana it was the first time I've fielded a Chelsea defender this season, and yeah, how many clean sheets do they have?
That's a great question.
Man,
hold on.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember.
I got you.
Maybe like
2.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, West Ham.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, that Bournemouth one was a freaking joke too. They were all over them. Yeah, I don't want any part of this.
But conceded 2 to Wolves, conceded 1 to Palace, conceded 1 to Forest, conceded 2 to Brighton. I mean, yeah, this is a leaky side.
Do you know that Wolves are, if not the only, but maybe like one of 3, but one of the few teams that has scored in each of their games. Nobody's kept a clean sheet against them.
Oh, wow.
Which is really odd.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's the exact opposite of what you would think.
Well, because they might have let in between 2 and 6 goals, but they
always score.
They always
paper the cracks with one. They're chasing the game. The other opposition's ready to have them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, weird stat.
I think building what you said earlier, Joe, where everyone's well drilled, everyone knows their position and everything, that doesn't really matter when this is your defense. You look at these players as possible fantasy assets. You look at Tosin with his 50% goal assist clean sheet percentage, with a 4.4 points per start. That's they're not ghosting either.
No.
Because Chelsea, they've obviously been quite good to start the season. They've also not got the defensive actions in, and it's just miserable. I think I had Colwill in a couple of leagues, but he's long gone now. I don't see a reason to roster them. If you are a true Reece James believer, then knock yourself out, but I don't want any part of that.
I agree. I've been tempted to bring in Gusto a couple of times, but then I look at like how he's done and the upcoming matchups, and I'm just, nope, that's not happening. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I love that. We're just like,
didn't sign up for all this Chelsea talk.
We're like, so anyway, yeah. So the question on the slide: are there any who are more than a weekly streamer and a good matchup? No, is the answer to that. And if you're curious about the matchups, at Old Trafford with the new manager bump, Arsenal, Leicester, okay, maybe, Villa, Southampton. So things do get better, you could argue. But yeah, that's up to you to take the gamble on or not. All right, guys. Let's talk Palace attackers who are not named Eberici Eze. So this is going to be another one of those where it might be obvious why we haven't talked about them. We've got JP Mateta leading the line with a 6.4 points per start. We move just south from there with Wharton, Hughes, Kamada, Sarr, and Nketiah all the way down at 4.6 points per start. The only one who started every game has been Wharton. And yeah, we expected more from him, although if you read my Palace preview, you would have known not to.
Is it Wharton that went off injured today?
Did he? I didn't see that.
I thought somebody said that. I didn't watch this game, but I thought somebody said something about Eze.
No, please don't. No, I can't. I'm too fragile right now. I can't deal with that.
Old Scruffy's saying Wharton and Eze both.
For fuck's sake. All right, great.
This might be the one time that we get to split the difference, Joe. I'm against Eze.
Oh, are you?
So, give it and take us away.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, Lord. All right, great. I'm trying to see. Let's see.
And
Yeah.
I still have faith in Nketiah will go on a purple patch. But again, I don't want to burn a hole in my roster while he gets it together.
Yeah, but it's going to be goals, right? It's going to be goals.
Yeah.
Purple patch. It will be all goals, and it'll be his goal assist clean sheet dependence is going to be super high. I mean, actually, Eddie Ryan's one of the ones we have talked about recently. I feel like.
This is true.
Like, do you guys have hope for Sarr? He's kind of one of the guys that is floating around as a possible streamer this week.
Not really. There's so many good forwards out there. It's just...
I don't think Sarr's really shown anything in the game so far that made me think he'll be a viable asset going forward.
Yeah.
I don't think that if Eze's out, I don't think that helps him. I think that in defence, and I don't see him being able to break through that, to be honest. And if Wharton's out as well, that puts the mid one from Palace as being Will Hughes, which is
powder.
Oh man, I mean, if Eze's out,
I mean, it's Will's on all the sets. That's a nice streamer there.
That could make for a nice streamer. I was thinking more along the lines of, let me get as many Wolves defenders in as I possibly can.
Yeah, obviously.
They're not going to score without Eze. Are you kidding me? Although it is, I mean, Wolves. it's actually...
Yeah, man. Movable object, unstoppable force there.
All right. Well, which one wins?
I mean, I'm streaming a Wolves defender. And if I need a mid, I'll go Hughes.
We'll talk plenty of Wolves in here in just a second, but
goody.
But yeah, I don't know that there's much to say about this, guys. Like, Ryan, all credit to you. Like, really not trying to like give you a big head, but you called this Palace overhype over the summer. You called it to a T, and it's come to fruition even more than I think you probably expected. But
I didn't think it would be this bad. To be honest.
It's been so bad. and all of the hype after last season, it's just been, yeah. I mean, there's no way they could follow up what they did, and then you lose Olise, which I think is showing itself to be a much bigger loss than expected.
It kind of shows that Hodgson did a decent job with them before. Last season.
That's not
Yes.
overcorrect here.
Yes. No, I love that. St. Roy. Yeah, I'm good on this. You guys good?
Yeah.
Okay. Wolves defenders. Here we go. We have not talked Wolves defenders enough, and I was hoping Sanjy would be here because he made an absolutely heroic call last week to recommend Semedo.
Based on nothing.
I don't know what got it. It was, some sort of harebrained scheme.
He got a random assist versus City, but his ghosts were very average. Yeah, the schedule, I was planning on picking up him or Nori for this soft schedule after Brighton. But he ghosted well last game. I don't think that's going to be sustainable, but given the schedule, you got to like his chances, and some of these other guys. Dawson can ghost as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you've not looked, should I share my screen?
Yeah.
All right. So if you haven't seen it, this is kind of what our fixture difficulty tracker looks like in the toolkit. And I just wanted to show people kind of, if we're looking at game weeks 10 to 17. And so I know it's kind of hard to see, but we're looking at game weeks 10 to 17. And, I can zoom. Beautiful. And you can see Wolves right there at the top. And it's either green or yellow. There's no red whatsoever. Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester. That is tasty as hell. Even if you're kind of skeptical, I don't know that it hurts you to pick up a Wolves defender who potentially ghosts a little bit. And this is where we can talk about, Ryan Aït-Nouri, 57% dependent on clean sheets, goals, or assists, whereas Semedo is only 35%. Craig Dawson, 22%.
Yeah. Aït-Nouri's a weird one. He's one of those guys that I know I keep harping on Kieran Tierney, but he did not get a fair shake by Opta. Aït-Nouri is very similar. He does not get any of the successful dribbles that he does multiple times a game. So I think he ghosts more than he's given credit for. But the long and short of it is he doesn't score all that well. He can do it in bunches, and he gets into dangerous positions, hence the goal assist dependence, because he does actually get attacking returns. The reliable, I think, is Craig Dawson here. Semedo's kind of in between. Aït-Nouri is the highest upside. Dawson's the most reliable. Semedo's kind of in between. On his day, he has a decent floor, and he has a bit of upside because he gets forward. But yeah,
I like this. I like the spectrum you've laid out for us. This is good.
Yeah. So I think, Aït-Nouri's long gone in your wire. And Semedo, if your league's worth its salt, was taken earlier this week, unless you have the waivers tomorrow. I think Dawson was probably the easiest to get if you can't get Semedo, and Aït-Nouri's already gone.
Yeah, Dawson's out there in my league.
Yeah, if you need a defender 3 this weekend, I think you could do worse.
Especially if Eze misses.
Look at Doherty.
Doherty.
Sweet Doherty.
1.9 points per start in 2 starts. Man. Yeah, that is
zero dependence on goals, assists, or clean sheets. The guy's a monster.
Yeah, he gets those 2 points per start from doing other things. It's just fantastic. Tom, anything on Wolves defenders? What do you think?
I'm kind of looking at Ryan Noy, and obviously he's taken it over leagues, but I'm just thinking back throughout the years, Ryan Noy's been there as someone who's drafted around 10ish and is never worth like that pick.
Yeah, you're so right.
I don't want to get hurt by him again. But yeah, I think for the purposes of like that schedule, which is, if there's one available, you can just set and forget him, drop them in your lineup for the next 8 weeks, and then take them out immediately as soon as that United game comes along.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. As we talk, I'm scrolling through my leagues just to see, and Semedo was there in one, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. But yeah, Aït-Nouri is gone for. I think he's been rostered for weeks. I mean, I can't.
He hasn't been on my wire for a long time.
Yeah, which is interesting. It was probably since the 17 that he scored against Liverpool, or because he backed that up. He backed that up with 26 against Brentford, and I think that was like the wake up call.
I remembered, yeah.
Yeah,
because I don't think many people picked him up for Liverpool, but right after that, with Brentford on the horizon, I bet that was the time where he was picked up in most of the leagues.
God damn, they conceded 5, and he scored 26.75.
You know who I'd really love for this run is fucking Mosquera.
Oh, if only. The man's always injured.
Oh, yeah, he's gone for the season.
Have your father-in-law talk to him. He's got to do something with his workout regimen. I don't know what it is. He needs a fellow Colombian to talk to him.
Yeah, he was chatting it up with Jefferson Lerma, not too long ago. So
that's so awesome.
I have a bigger connection with Mosquera since he played in Cincy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so maybe I'll make the introduction.
Perfect. Oh man. All right. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, worth highlighting Wolves just because of the upcoming fixtures. Somebody mentioned it was Old Scruffy in chat. You know, obviously the defensive schedule is really nice, but that obviously kind of means that the rest of them are nice as well. He said, by the same coin, would you give Larson a shout as a forward 3? I said,
yeah,
absolutely. He's been playing as that already.
Yeah, no, he should benefit like everybody else. I mean, Cunha is the one that you would have wanted to get in prior to this turn. Let's go, baby. Yeah, he was on my bench over the weekend, but
oof.
Yeah. But yeah, Sean Larson's a good one as well. Cunha,
I mean, let's see. I have him and Mbomo in the league, so I guess Mbomo's technically my forward 1, but like those two, I don't know that I'm ever going to move him out of my lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to you ad nauseum about this one league where I went all kind of upside forwards and I hit the ball out of the park with all of them. So like I got Adama, Cunha, Kai, and Mbomo, and decided to go with the heart over the head and went with Kai and Adama over Cunha this weekend.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had kind of rotated them perfectly depending on the matchup, but this time I messed it up. So, but yeah, Cunha is not coming out of my lineup for the rest of this run, at least.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Anything else on Wolves, guys?
Not defenders.
Feeling good. All right, sweet. All right, so Ipswich forwards. We don't talk about them often, and there's a reason, but the reason is not going to be their points per start numbers, which is really interesting. So I think, especially for people who are newer to the draft game, and you log into Fantrax or whatever else you're using, maybe Sleeper, and you sort by, either points per start or points per game, which would probably be even worse. I mean, worse as in it would trick you a little bit more. You're going to see these guys out there, and the Fantrax projections are going to tell you that they're going to score 17 to 23, somewhere in that range every single week. And so the question is, right, like why, if these players are so good, why are they still available in my league? And because there's things that people know that you don't, unfortunately, if you're newer to this game. And so let's break that down a little bit, guys. Ipswich forwards, George Hurst sitting at 1 start with 22.3 points per start. We don't probably really need to get into that. Check out the numbers. not sustainable, clearly. Jack Clark, 8.7 points per start. Liam Delap, 8.1 points per start. Connor Chaplin, 7.3. These guys appear on their face to be like forward threes. Like if you were going to start a third forward, maybe you would trot them out. I am never comfortable doing that with any of these guys, and I'll let you guys sort of explain your thoughts on that and why.
Go ahead, Tommy boy.
They're Ipswich, I suppose. It's you look at Liam Delap, he's scored 5 goals and he's only averaging 8.1 points per start.
Exactly.
That's the thing with Delap as well. He's outperformed his XG by 3.5 so far. Which
wow.
So off 1.5 XG, he's got 5 goals, which isn't particularly sustainable. That's not looking at his like prior seasons. That's not par for the course. He slightly overperformed last year. In the prior 2 years, he underperformed his XG, which I appreciate isn't everything. But you look at the kind of goals he's scoring as well. There's quite a few like long range ones in there, and that's not something that he's historically been known for.
Yeah.
So I'd expect, and if the goals do dry up, then how's he getting his points? Really?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Just kind of a quick review of his numbers. So he had 4 against Liverpool. He had negative points against City. 16 with a goal against Fulham. He had 1.75 against Brighton. Negative 0.5 against Southampton, which is a game that plenty of people started him. He had 23 against Villa, a game in which you wouldn't have started him, with 2 goals. So I'll remind you that a goal is 11 points. He had 23 with 2 goals. 18.5 against West Ham with a goal. 2.5 against Everton and 12 against Brentford with a goal. It's pretty straightforward.
Who's I don't know too much about this Hurst character. Pretty nice PPS he's got there.
Well, you see, you may remember an absolute bonkers game last weekend against Ipswich and Brentford.
Yeah.
Where goals were flying in like fucking confetti at a parade. And he scored 22.5. He played 72 minutes. He had a goal and an assist in that time. So, yes, there's some ghost points there.
So is he the tip of the spear? Like I've only rostered some Ipswich defenders and I haven't watched them play very often.
So that was his first start.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he has a defined role in the system. Yeah, I would have to look at the actual lineup to see where he was.
Yeah.
But
he's been a starting striker since they were in League One. And he's a
you wrote the Ipswich article.
I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can remember everything about Ipswich for certain.
I reviewed it, so now I'm like, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah. Tell us about old Hursty.
I mean, I thought that he'd start the season. To be honest, I thought they'd keep with him. He was quite good in the Championship last year. Not prolific. Scored 7 goals. So in 90 minutes. So if you want to start him, then go for it. I don't see why he'd ghost. So if he's not getting goals, then I don't see where the points are coming from for him.
Yeah.
So it seems like Clark is really the only one that can ghost. But I know after that like initial ghosting performance, he's kind of sputtered out a bit.
Yeah, and a lot of people picked him up, and then it's just dried up since then.
Yeah, so they dropped him again.
Hey guys.
Sanjy!
Hello.
Sorry for being late. I hate the tube system sometimes. I had to run home from Finsbury Park Station, so I ran a few stops.
Damn. It's really no problem, man, but I appreciate the dedication. That's amazing.
Yeah, I felt guilty for being late and all that. But I'm kind of glad that you guys got to the Ipswich side of things, because we've got a couple of Ipswich reps in our Discord.
Okay.
Even the one we had for the inside track stuff. And they were actually saying that the Hurt start is just a one-off. They expect Delap to start the next game. I mean, you look at the data, Delap has started every single game up until last game week.
Yeah.
So if you were to possibly punt on I mean, the option I'm going to mention is not in this list, but Sami Smodic is probably the asset that gets another start next game. Not Hurst. They're expecting the lap to start next game.
So Sami Smodic, the player that I've called the most goal-dependent player in the history of Fantrax.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, this is the fun part of the beautiful game we call Fantrax, is they might score, fuck all for the past few games of the season so far, but maybe something has changed in this system. Like even the likes of Omari Hutchinson, I think, dropped out and might come back in, possibly in a different position. And to me, it just seems like it's similar to Crystal Palace in the sense that I think they're still trying to figure out the best formation, the best combination, because even you look at the back as well, they've brought Burgess or whatever his name is into centre back, pushed O'Shea into right back, ruined O'Shea as an asset, I want to say.
Totally. And Burgess actually has been okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be an alpha defender in any setup, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Ryan, you can attest to this, having tracked the ghost points for a number of seasons for various teams. So there is a chance that O'Shea could be crap again next game week, just because of the shit performance by Harry Clark. Let's call it that, with the red card. And yeah, they're just a mess at the back with what was it? Twanzebe nearly cut his finger off. They're not really trusting Ben Johnson. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of chop and change for Ipswich. And it's a shame, because it's a very tasty fixture in Game Week 10 versus Leicester. Like, for me, I'd be wanting to play all my assets versus Leicester. The same thing, all my assets versus Ipswich, right? But as attractive as that 22.3 points per start looks,
yeah,
I agree, because I grabbed him in a league along with Smodic. The tip that I got was you're probably going to get the start out of Smodic and not Hurst.
Smodic, I mean, I'm going to have to wait till it's not Everton and Brentford, but he did ghost against Brentford. He got 6. Or no, sorry, against Everton, he got 6. And then against Brentford, he got, what would that math be? 4.5.
Yeah, Brentford has gone from a team that we used to be able to trust for a clean sheet, the odd game here and there. Now, I think they don't even care about clean sheets. They've got one of the best, I think, XG.
Haven't had one all season.
In the league as well. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see if they're the only one.
So I mean, I get that obviously, like, I think a lot of Fantrax managers go by what has happened in the past, what has happened over the last few fixtures, and I would totally understand someone's rationale for not wanting to play Smodic after some of the eggs that he dropped for the season so far. But again, it's a fixture play. It's something that we talked about on our pod as well, is like, the Southampton versus Leicester fixture. There's a lot of people that went Archer or Vardy, not because of the ghost points, but because those teams will give up chances. And more than likely, those assets are going to get a goal here or there, right? So I don't see why you wouldn't want to roll out, an Ipswich forward or player as, your forward 3 or your mid 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's a swing for the fences for sure. It's like, okay, so the question becomes, all right, would you rather trot out somebody like let's say Jefferson Lambert gets a start because Eze's out, like something like, or Will Hughes, like you were saying, Ryan, like, would you rather trot out somebody like that who might get you 6, or would you rather try to swing for the fences, somebody who could score a goal, and if they don't, they're going to get you 2, or negative 0.5.
I think I'd probably go the ceiling play. Like, listen, I don't know if I missed it, and I'm sorry if I did the chat about Hughes, but the back-to-back games with the 4 key passes, regardless of a start or off the bench, it is a very interesting dilemma that you've kind of proposed, though, Joe.
Yeah. And did you see, Sanjay, that Eze went out today in the 16th minute injured?
Oh, well, that hurts my soul massively.
Yeah, same. I know. I'm really upset about it. I'm trying to hold it all together here.
I mean, it's bad enough that we went out to Newcastle, but you know what? That's neither here nor there. So.
Yeah, well, Newcastle, what a strange team this year. Anyway, that's another pod. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Any other thoughts on these guys? Feeling okay? All right. Well, we have one more. Ryan, this will probably strike a chord with you. Villa midfielders. After last season,
Hate them.
what the hell is going on? First of all, we have Tielemans, which I will say, Sanjy has been given props in the chat by Old Scruffy about Tielemans specifically and about his Semedo call last week. So, well done, my friend. But aside from Tielemans, we have Morgan Rogers, which I'll let you rant about him in a second, Ryan. Amadou Onana, nobody saw that coming, 7.3 points per start, but even then, that's a midfielder 3 to 4
Streamer.
Everyone else has been miserable, including Leon Bailey, and McGinn is worse than we could ever possibly imagine. Even though we thought he was overrated to begin with, this is a basement level.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it in the Villa previews the last few years. That just midfielders in Emery's system don't particularly score well unless you're the one that has the set pieces, and I think Tielemans has benefited from some of that, and he's played pretty well. Rogers is a special case because, one, I think he should have probably 3 to 4 more assists than he has. I watched with my own eyes Watkins scuff 5 or 6 of his well-placed assists. But the ghosts have gone. I know this because I rostered him, so I know specifically that he's had 2 games where he's gotten 0 points. And yeah, he got a 20-pointer with a goal and assist, but like those 2 goose eggs like sink your game week. And he completely killed me this week. But he's one of those guys that like passes the eye test. He's in good positions. He's like right behind the striker. I think he's still going to get a fair amount of attacking returns, but like the lack of ghosts just kill me. I'm surprised at 41. I'm surprised to see it. Like that's really high for a midfielder. But still, I thought it'd be even higher. And yeah, Leon Bailey, man, he had a run last season, and now he's back to his kind of injury prone, not scoring that well self. And yeah, Ramsey's a freaking basket case. So yeah, it's really Tielemans and Rogers, and that's about it.
Go ahead, Tom.
You did a
breathe in.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking at Bailey with his 5 points per start this season.
I agree.
Remembering 2 years ago.
Yep.
That's just painful to see.
I can't explain it. I have no idea. I mean, is it a different role? I guess I don't watch Villa all that often.
I mean, he's just crap. Like, you not drop him. Like no. I'm sorry to interject, but people in leagues are like messaging us and like, should we drop Bailey? And I'm like, yeah, why the hell not? Like he's not scoring points. He's not starting games consistently. He's injury prone. I just think like last season was just a bit of a golden patch or purple patch or whatever you want to call it. Like, and maybe his value is massively inflated for this season's draft. And I think if you got him early on and were able to trade him out on a high, then kudos to you. But right now, I don't think you're getting pennies for him unless you're trading with an experienced manager that believes in his potential as much as you do when you originally drafted him.
Yeah. I mean, but man, even that, like we've known for a long time that he's very injury prone, which actually is amazing that he's been able to avoid injury as long as he has now. I mean, he had a little spell on the sidelines, but it wasn't long. And then last season was just incredible. I mean, he somehow kept the injury monkey off his back the whole season. But even considering the fact that, okay, maybe he's going to regress a little bit, none of us saw 3.6 points per start coming. That's just miserable.
What round was he going in? What was his ADP for this season?
Like fourth or what did you say, fifth, Ryan? Yeah, fifth.
Sort of around the turn, fourth or fifth, I think was around. I've seen.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're either getting him or like a Munoz in your drafts.
Oh, I hope you got Munoz.
I mean, you're saying that off the back of this week, especially, right? So.
Well, actually,
Munoz hasn't been that great either.
I traded.
Yeah,
him
exactly.
Out, so,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. I mean, God, I don't know. I was hoping to like maybe give people some hope here, but you're telling me there's none, Ryan?
No, I mean there's usually one midfielder in Emery's system that plays decently. I think he's tweaked it a little bit for Rodgers, and I'm hoping that his last outing was basically he's just been running him into the ground. He's played every game, Premier League and midweek, Europe and cup games until I think today or yesterday, whenever Villa played. So I'm hoping he's just kind of a little bit burnt out, but he's still got a chance to be a good midfielder. Whether or not I give him the time to really flourish, I don't know. I'm still sticking in my craw that goose egg, but
yeah, everybody
else I'm not really interested in.
No. Yeah, I mean Rodgers, you can't drop him at this point.
No.
You're never going to start him as more than like your mid 3 because you know he's capable of goosing like he did last week.
Yeah, but he's also capable of getting a brace. So
right.
It's tricky because obviously like psychologically you have a lot of trust with these players. So like he's basically lost my trust with these two goose eggs. So I don't know. I mean, they're playing against Spurs this weekend. I don't know if I'm going to start him.
So I'm looking at his numbers. Rodgers, you'd love to think of him as like a flat track bully because that would make it easier to explain everything. But the 10 against Arsenal, 2.5 against Leicester. There's no rhyme or reason. And then last week, famously, 0 against Bournemouth, and then got taken off in the 56th.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really hard to predict, and he's won at least a little bit of a floor. Like if you're dropping 0, like that's a game week losing performance. Like,
right.
I need at least something. You got to give me something, dude.
But lads, it's Tottenham.
Doesn't matter with this guy, unfortunately.
I mean, Tottenham, let's see. They have kept 2 clean sheets against bottom half the table teams, Everton and United.
I love that United thing.
Yep.
I mean, Rodgers is the projections are saying 8 for Rodgers, but I got plenty of other dogs to put in over that.
Yeah, I feel you. Would you go Rodgers against Tottenham or Delap?
Delap.
Rodgers. I don't fucking care about Delap. I'm not starting any Ipswich attacker. I'm sorry.
But even if it's against Leicester.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tom?
That's Rodgers for me all the way.
Ooh. Okay.
I don't believe in Delap whatsoever.
And he wrote the Ipswich article, by the way. Good lad, Tom.
I listened to a bit of the Ipswich segment while I was running. I was playing it on YouTube on my phone. I heard you. Sorry, I'm dedicated to the cause.
You sure are.
But like I think Tom, you were referring to like the XG numbers and that sort of stuff. But I mean, there's only so much that data takes you, right? I want to say Delap was maybe a couple of inches away from having a brace that game versus Brentford as well. And for me, like eye test goes a long way, and that's why I would suggest Delap. And I'm not saying that Rodgers doesn't pass the eye test as well, because I mean, when you're playing against or playing alongside one of the best strikers in the league in Watkins,
sure,
you can easily get an attacking return here or there, or just scrape some key passes here and there. But it comes down to the opposition there for me, as in Leicester away than Spurs. So that's why I'm gonna go to Delap. But that's my reasoning, and I completely get other reasonings as well. But yeah, I think I'm on the other side of the fence for this, or the other side of the ball. Is that what the saying is?
Yeah. On
both sides of the ball.
Playing on both sides of the ball. Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, so guys, I'm gathering that there's a reason we haven't talked about a lot of these players. But I wanted to give them their moment in the sun just in case. And I feel like it's that time of the season where we can.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we threw out some good ones in there.
But also, I mean, I think we can probably encourage people to start to drop these guys. I mean, you might have had hope for them, and not just the Villa guys, but I'm talking just generally a lot of the guys that we had higher hopes for and just aren't delivering. At this point in the season, I mean, you're ready to move on. So yeah, I think it's pretty fair to say like now is a good time of the season to sow your wild oats and see if you can't pick up somebody else who's gonna do the biz for you.
Yep.
All right, let's move along to streamers and get people out of here and off to bed. So
I didn't see this.
What?
I didn't see that we had a streamers slide.
Oh, you didn't put your streamers in?
No.
Oh, yours are from last week?
Yeah, should we let it roll?
I mean,
you could probably suggest the same guys.
That's actually an interesting.
Can't remember who they were, so
This is an interesting thought project. We'll do this experiment here to see if this works or not.
Hope it's not Carvalho. I'm completely off that fraud.
Okay, so Carvalho is he's one of yours, but we'll move on from him. But a couple of them are pretty interesting. So we can still talk about those. But good news is Tom is going to kick us off for the streamers.
No way is that Tom in the picture.
Yeah, that is a very old photo. I mean, you can date I'm wearing a Mitch Trubisky Bears jersey. So
wow!
Oh Jesus! Yeah,
shit.
It was 1998, give or take.
Yeah.
Damn.
So started it off. So Lindstrom, it's no one really knows what's going on with McNeil at the moment. He was taken off injured over the weekend after quite a poor game from him, which killed my game week in every single league because I am the world's biggest Dwight McNeil truther. But so the pain of if he doesn't start, hopefully Lindstrom will get some minutes.
I haven't gotten any news on online, anything. Guessing we'll get something tomorrow at the presser or something.
I still don't believe Dyche though. So
yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, it is McNeil. Like he's typically quite. He would normally play every game. He was injured to start last season, but apart from that, he's not missed that many game weeks. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the formation if he's not there. Potentially Njai going back into the 10 role. Fantrax seem to think that Beto will start over him, which will be
I saw that
change of formation.
It's like, are you serious?
Fantrax projections are the best.
So I mean, maybe they think that he'll be able to pull the strings from attacking midfield, but
Beto's nothing if not creative.
Yeah, so it's wherever he plays, Lindstrom, he's an exciting player. They're playing Southampton, and that's about my thought process when it comes to him.
Okay.
Go on.
Oh, right, I've got more, haven't I?
One and done.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, so Alex Moreno against West Ham. Forest have looked surprisingly competent this season. West Ham haven't, and he's got he as far as people like wing backs who are on the waiver wire can go, he ghosts somewhat, and I don't know. I'm fairly sure that when I wrote this, I was in a panic at work and thought that Eze played for West Ham, and that's why him being out meant that a Forest defender would be a good idea. But I got confused with Bowen, which that's about as well as my day's been going. But yeah, I think that Moreno he's looked quite good this season. He's been a reasonable asset. West Ham, it's not a difficult game really. West Ham started the season quite poorly. That game against United aside, which was at least funny. I don't know.
I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry because Ryan also has him in his streamers.
Oh,
so
against Leicester, and they'll be able to tell you I was agonizing over starting him, and I didn't. He ended up producing 2. So it's not high on my list.
Well, I've got Jack Clarke against Leicester here, so I intentionally didn't speak very much about him in the previous segment.
Yeah,
well, it's Jack. I mean, I know he's not projected to start, but if he does, I'd absolutely play him against Leicester. Watching Jack Clarke play for the past 3 years, he's an elite championship winger. Leicester are a championship side. He'll tear them apart. And he'll struggle against sort of good defensive right backs, which Leicester don't really have. I mean, Pereira is not fantastic in the tackle. And so if Jack Clarke gets the start, then I could see him getting some good ghost points going down that left-hand side for Ipswich, yeah. And then Sugawara against Everton, it looks like he's back from injury now. But it's like rostership still something like 28% on fan tracks when I looked earlier.
Yeah.
And
he got dropped a lot of places.
Yeah. He he got that goal earlier in the season, obviously, but he also ghosts. He got quite a good score when in the game against Leicester where they conceded 3. I don't know how many of them he was on the pitch for off the top of my head, but he's got 7.5 ghost points from that. So it's against Everton, who, especially if McNeil is out, they're not a creative side. They'll struggle to create chances, even against Southampton, I'd imagine.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on this one. I had Sugawara, but I dropped
him in the league.
I dropped him for Semedo.
Ooh.
In a league that we're in together, Sanjay. I can't believe Semedo is available.
Yeah, I track moves. I saw you. I saw you grab Sugawara, but I didn't follow up after that. To be honest,
I dropped him. Yeah, I dropped him. So if you're interested, which one would you rather have this week?
Oh, Semedo, hands on.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, it's just Southampton. Like they're a mess. I'm surprised that ETH got fired before Russell Martin. To be honest, like they're on a I mean, they're doomed for relegation in my opinion. I mean, as bad as Everton can be as well, I don't see anything past an easy Everton win possibly. I don't know.
Yeah,
this is Everton. They don't do easy wins.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's true. Well, as you well know, Pickford has to make it dramatic. So,
old T-Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that small huntsman.
All right, Sanjy, keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, as always, go read my article on the Draft Society website. And if you can't access it, I don't know, buy a membership, support our cause because we do great work. But one of the picks that's not there is Beto, though. And the reason I put him there is just because DCL is dreadful. Like, I think over the past 5 games, he's probably amassed like between 2 and 2.5 XG and not scored. And like even watching the highlights, it's honestly baffling how he's not gotten an attacking return in the last 5 games. And after Beto came off the bench, scored, I think it was his first goal in the Premier League, if not for his career, but this season for sure. I mean, listen, I play this game probably with a bit of heart and way too much emotion, and seeing him absolutely bawl his eyes out after scoring the goal and getting the points, and highlighting the fact that Everton are now 5 games undefeated. It's very important. I just think that he could possibly be rewarded with a start, and it wouldn't surprise me just because of how inefficient DCL has been up top. And it's almost like the perfect game to roll out possibly anyone in your squad, almost like a warm-up game against Southampton. So, yeah, I think I don't hate the punt of Beto, and especially if you're a DCL owner, and you can afford to stash Beto, it's not the worst play. I'm not saying it's going to be like rest of season play, but against Southampton, if he starts Beto, I'm rolling him out.
Yeah.
Semedo, I wrote about him in the article. Listen, Wolves have had one of the toughest fixture runs to start the season, and now they're going on a very, very kind fixture run, probably for the next 10 game weeks, I want to say. So I do think they're turning a corner slightly. I mean, even eye test wise, they look like they're getting better slightly each game, not massively, but they are playing okay. Like, they're giving teams a somewhat of a tough time, and it's not like Crystal Palace are, pulling up any trees as well. They only just got their first win of the season, and before that they scored the fewest goals in the Prem. So there's a chance of attacking returns. There's a chance of a clean sheet with Semedo. So I don't mind the play. I love it. And I hated the fact that you grabbed him, Joe. I'm just glad that we're not playing each other this game week, right?
Well, Dawson's out there if you want him.
Yeah, Craigie Dorr, listen, man loves a goal, right? He's one of the stalwarts of the Premier League. So I also love him as well. The next pick I have is Smodic versus Leicester. Again, it's one of those plays where it's a terrible team. It's a terrible defense. You're purely playing for the upside. He might not get ghosts, but again, it's one of those Vardy plays, or one of those Archer plays versus a terrible team. They'll get you a goal, and that's about it. Don't expect much more than that.
Yeah.
And Sar versus Wolves. I don't know if, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but was it the first time that Glasner started Eze, Sar, and Mateta in the front three? Yeah. So we've been crying out for this for the longest while, but again, we've talked about this on previous pods. Like, Glasner, I think, still doesn't know what his best 11 is, especially what his best attacking front three is.
Right.
But given the fact that they finally got their first win of the season, maybe he does it again. Sar got some decent ghost points last game. This is Spurs. Granted, it was Spurs, but Wolves also give up chances to teams, give up goals. So I don't hate the play either way. So yeah, those are my lot.
I like that. Yeah, Sar is one of those that I had added at one point, and I think I have since dropped him. But yeah, I'm mildly optimistic. He had like 8 ghosts last week, something like that. I want to say.
Something like that. Yeah.
And Old Scruffy saying Sar gets a boost with the new injuries. I mean, that's the question: is it a boost or is it not? Right. So missing Eze, does that cut off most of your attacking creativity, or does that open up possibilities for other folks? I don't know. I'm skeptical, especially with this Palace team. I think it. Yeah, you're shaking your head, Ryan.
Yeah, it's risky biz. I'm good, I think. I mean, with the early returns on, I think we said this coming into the season with Olise leaving. Like, these great players, when they leave, like, it's not like addition and subtraction. They make a huge impact, and like a front three without Eze. I just don't know where Will Hughes pulling the strings. I just don't know. Yeah. I think it'd have to be a set piece probably.
Yeah, and that's fair, and it could be Will Hughes on set pieces.
Powder, fucking swinging them in.
There you go. Absolutely. All right, Ryan. Here were your ones from last week. So
Justin, dead to me. Moreno, I hate you. Batawu, not good enough. Cree, genius.
Yeah, that was good. That was actually incredible. Yeah.
Carvalho, I hate you as well.
All right, so Cree.
Yeah, new list. I think Miles Lewis Skelly has a good chance of starting against Newcastle. He was rested. He was the one that came on when Timber came out against Liverpool. 18-year-old academy kid. He's got a lot of talent. He was rested tonight and came in for a cameo. So I think that means he's got the inside track to play left back this weekend against Newcastle. But it'll be, I think, him or Zinchenko, given the fact that Calafiori is still out. Timber looked fine. I think Ben White will probably stay at center back, and Timber Party on the right. Yeah. There are a couple of different combinations, but it's the first game of the game week. If he doesn't start, obviously easy drop. St. James's Park, obviously. Sorry, Tom. It's a tough place to play. And we've had our woes there, but I think it's a good time to play Newcastle. And I think
always is.
Exactly.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. I'd seen him up for that one. We've gotten our revenge on a lot of different grounds, and I think it's our time to do the biz up there. So he's a decent shout. Who else?
I got a couple. So I'm looking at I kind of mentioned it earlier in the pod, but the Fantasy Toolkit has Gameweek transaction data, which is going to give you the top players who've been picked up in the the big three community leagues.
I got more.
Oh, you do? Go.
Yeah.
I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but Sarabia is.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yes, love that show.
He's it's a late game though, and he's still. God, Gary O'Neill just does not care for him this season.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, he looked good. I don't want to say he single-handedly changed the game, but second half Wolves looked like a lot better. And obviously they came back and won 2-2 with him in it. But he's someone to stash, I think.
You think he starts to get more starts?
I think they're screaming out for creativity, and like O'Neill has been pretty stubborn with the formation and the personnel. But I think that might have to do with how hard the schedule was. And I think he's going to try and outscore the next few opponents and get some points on the board. So I think there's a chance that he reverts back to Sarabia, and in which case, obviously the schedule is great and we know what Sarabia can do. And now he has Strand Larson to ping balls to. So
yeah,
he's one of those high upside guys that it's still kind of not a long shot, but it's still, the odds are against him being a regular starter. But if he does, it's one of those kind of like quasi season changing streamers that you pick up. So he's worth the punt. But yeah, obviously have cover because it's one of the later games. It's the last one on Saturday, so have some Sunday cover if you're depending on him. I think we kind of alluded to Ipswich defenders and Dara losing his mojo, but Burgess I think showed last week that he can ghost. I think he still finished with 6 or 8 after 4 goals conceded.
Yeah, exactly.
Good matchup this weekend. So he's somebody I'm thinking about tinkering with, and the other defender I'm thinking about slotting in as my defender 3 this weekend is Manning. We talked about Sugarwawa, but Manning had better ghosts 2 weekends ago, and I kind of shouted him out in GPH and said that now's not the time to pick him up because they have City, and obviously he and everybody else was a dud. But picking him back up this weekend for Everton. Oddly enough, he wasn't even on the bench for the Cup this midweek, so I don't know if that signifies anything or if he's just kind of resting him. But yeah, if he starts, I think he's got a decent chance and some decent upside, kind of similar to the Sugawara mold. But I think those are my main ones.
I like it. You mentioned most of the ones I was going to say. So yeah, good on you.
Super.
Pubs with Ab talking about Tsimikas.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely one to keep an eye on for sure. Let's see.
Robbo got rinsed for that Saka goal, man. That was.
Oh, it was embarrassing.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Saka.
I mean, it's Saka. Listen,
Saka's
Saka's
so
an amazing
fucking
player.
good. He's so good.
He's amazing, but surely you don't get turned inside out that easily.
Right. I agree. The last one I wanted to mention was, hold on one second, let me pull up the numbers here. Because he had another good outing tonight, and we saw this last week. He was used midweek and then actually did start on the weekend, is Mateus Nunes. And we had said, don't ever start him. He's terrible. He does nothing. He doesn't ghost. And then, lo and behold, he scored 14 points.
14 with an assist?
Yeah. I mean, he was against me, so that would explain some of it.
Yeah, and I dropped him after last weekend. Yeah. I mean, it's Bournemouth. You could do worse, I suppose. It's tricky. It's a tricky fixture. I got some hope for the Cherries in that one. Honestly, I don't know why, but City have been very, very lucky.
Oh yeah.
This season, Christ.
I mean, they're missing their best player, right?
I don't give a shit.
Multiple. Is this fueled by your allegiance with the North London club though, right?
Obviously, it exacerbates it. But I'm sorry, you got $100 million player that doesn't play.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about
you have several
injuries or anything else. Like every single advantage, I don't care.
No, that's fair.
I don't.
Yeah. So people talking about Savinho potentially injured tonight
on a stretcher. I saw.
Yeah,
that's not good.
Was everyone injured tonight? Like what?
There were yeah, there were quite a few. All for the fucking Carabao Cup.
Yeah, and Pep said for weeks that he was going to be playing just academy players, and then he rocks up with that lineup.
Yep, and then they lost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. See, Tom,
wait, you believe Pep?
Well,
what he says?
Never.
I could care less. I'm glad they didn't, but like, he could have. It's his fault.
Tom, your boys had it right. Your boys had it right going out of the cup early.
Yeah, it's just pointless, isn't it? Just extra. It's just fixture congestion for.
Exactly.
Too good for the energy drink cup.
Now City get to rest their players. Just what we needed. Anyway, all right. Let's go ahead and close it down. Thank you so much to all of you who joined us live. There was a lot of really good chat going on in the chat. Various different trade talk and, various like, who should I start? I mean, it's awesome. I love this. So thanks for everyone who joined us. And Tom, you did great, man. Thanks so much. This was awesome. We'll have to have you back on.
Thank you. It was great to be on. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Oh, hi, Tom.
That's actually.
This is literally the first time I've heard what Tom sounds like. But
Sanjy, thanks for getting your heart rate up for us and making it here with some time left.
I got my steps in. I'm all glitchy.
We appreciate that. All right, everybody. It's been a good one. We'll talk to everyone soon. Best of luck this weekend. I say it every time, but join the Discord. That's where all the conversation is. And there's several different communities you can join. Sanjay's got one for Bantah Boys. We've got one for the Inner Circle for the Draft Society. And then there's just generally one for Draft PL. In general, and that's free. Sanjay, your Bantah Boys one is free. There's places you can go to get advice. There's places you can go to talk to people in the community, and that's exactly where everything's happening now. So I'll say it again. Join the Discord if you have any questions. Start, sit, trade questions, things like that. That's where it's all going down. All right, we'll talk to everyone soon. Best of luck, listeners. We love you. We'll talk to you. Cheers.
Bye.